Zayne Parekh will not be playing in the rookie showcase due to a lingering injury. And what exactly does this mean for the start of his season?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jessica Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So today we are going to be talking all about Zayne Parekh's lingering injury, the rookie prospect showcase this weekend against Edmonton, and a timeline of when Rasmus Andersson may actually get traded. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your Calgary Flames every day. And let's jump into it. So we are still riding the high of the Dustin Wolf extension here at Locked On Flames. It was a very exciting Tuesday and Wednesday. It's just been still kind of hanging in there, running on fumes a little bit, but that all came to a stop when it was announced that Zayne Parekh will not be playing in the prospect showcase this weekend in Calgary against the Edmonton Oilers. In case you need a little refresher, Zayne Parekh left Team Canada's showcase earlier this summer due to an injury. This was pretty early on in the summer. I want to say it was after the 4th of July. So it was still relatively early. And I think it's, I don't want to say troublesome, but it does give me a little bit of anxiety because we're a few months removed from that. And then announcing that he won't be at the rookie showcase kind of concerns me. But then they reassured us that he will be ready to go for main camp next week. So I guess, yeah, it stinks that he's still likely dealing with something, but we don't want to risk him re-injuring himself in a meaningless, low-stakes situation, because we've seen how quickly things can just kind of go awry in these games. One bad hit and you're out for the season. Your shoulder and your season's over before it even starts. I remember seeing players on the Providence Bruins. I remember it was like it was a morning skate, and one of them jokingly threw a hit to one of their teammates, and he ended up breaking his shoulder or dislocating his shoulder. So, and it's happened with wrists, it's happened with knees. You don't want to play with that stuff, and especially with how high the stakes are for Parekh, it's not worth it. And I'm fine if he's actually not injured and they're just playing it on the safe side, because they expect him to play a lot of hockey this season. And you want him to be well rested for that. And you don't want to turn the car on too early and run out of gas before you even get there. So that's fine. We know that he's hungry. We know that Parekh wants a spot on the roster. He was super hopeful last preseason, but obviously it didn't end up working out. But this year, the tide seemed to have turned a little bit. And after an incredible season in the OHL, breaking records left and right, I think that the Flames organization is a little more confident in his game, and they feel like he's potentially ready. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to play 82 games with the Flames, but I do feel as if there's a strong possibility he starts the season with the Flames. It would be silly for him not to. I am very excited for what he has to show. And I think knowing that there's like an actual possibility that he makes the team, makes the roster, is going to drive him even more. And to be more aware and be more methodical with the plays he makes and the decisions he makes and things like that. So there's a lot of hockey ahead of Zayne Parekh, and that's okay that he's sitting out. Like I said, low stakes situation. Sure, it's extra hockey, but ultimately, I'd rather him get a little bit more rest and just kind of prepare himself for the main event. And he needs the stamina. We know that a lot of these kids coming out of like college or the OHL, they tend to have obviously different stamina levels than guys who have played in the league for years. So that adjustment is something you have to be cognizant of, because it's not just about the now. It's, how are things going to look? Not even super late into the season, but how is he going to look in November, December? When we're 30 some odd games into the season. That it's something to think about. And at the same time, like, I'm so ready to see Zayne Parekh opening night, and I think it will be a lot of fun. And we shall keep our fingers and toes crossed that everyone stays healthy this final stretch of the off season as we head into camp. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the prospect showcase coming up this weekend and where you can watch, who you can watch, and even why you should watch. Coming up next on Locked On Flames. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That is why Monarch Money is here. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or mobile device. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, like me, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all of the heavy lifting, and you can link your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. As someone who has a lot going on in her personal life as well as her financial life, it can be really overwhelming. So being able to see everything in one place is so helpful. And I don't get distracted by, okay, I have this app. Oh, okay, I need to check this one next, but then get pulled in a different direction and like never go back to it. It is all in one place. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off of your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And what an exciting time of year. I think yesterday or last week when they announced the Connors area extension, I was like so happy, so excited, like hockey was here. And then the unexpected Dustin Wolf announcement yesterday was like, oh, hockey really is here. The announcement today of the prospect training camp was like, oh yeah, no, like we're back. We are 100% 100% back. Today at WinSport, they opened their prospect camp, and the first on-ice session is taking place tomorrow, and they're going to have they're going to have 2 games at WinSport this weekend, or Friday and Sunday. Sorry. I was looking at the schedule. Friday and Sunday against the Edmonton Oilers prospects, and you can get tickets on the Flames website. Kids under 2 are free. And the proceeds go to the Calgary Flames Foundation, which I think is pretty neat. But one of the things here, before we get into, who's going to be there and whatnot, a lot of the Flames heavy hitters are in college. They are NCAA students, and that means they can't attend this camp. They're just not eligible for it, and it stinks. So of course, like, looking at this list, it's like, okay, well, there's still some real heavy hitters here. I don't care. I think that it's an exciting time because you've got Owen Say, who is going to take over Dan Vladar's number 80, which is fitting considering he is a goaltender. The Flames signed him out of college earlier this summer, late last season. You have Hunter Brusiewicz coming in, still wearing number 48. You've got Morin coming back. You've got Meso Phillips, who they just drafted this year. Andrew Basha, who I think really needs to take this opportunity and run with it. There were prospect rankings that had Dean Letourneau higher than him. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with college hockey and the prospects and, juniors, things like that. But I watched Dean Letourneau play hockey. And there is absolutely no way that Andrew Basha was worse than him. I find that very difficult to believe. I think that this ranking was strictly based on height. But anyways, Basha dealt with injuries last season. Really hope that he comes back this year and just tears it up. Jacob Battaglia, who they drafted last year in the second round, Parker Bell, Matevi Gridden, Sam Honzek, Carter King, Suniev. There are a lot of players here that are exciting to watch and just in new names to throw on your radar. They just drafted Meso Phillips this year, so that'll be a fun one to check out. I don't think it's fair. And I know Sam Honzek gets a lot of hate or criticism, not hate, but criticism, maybe a little both. You can't just go off of these games. You can't. These are not high stakes situations. This is not a make or break event. It's a good way to get on the coaching staff's radar, but chances are it's just going to be a scrimmage. I don't foresee this being some sort of, they're not going to look like NHLers. They're probably going to look like children because that is what they are. But I would have to say that Andrew Basha is one of the players that I would keep circled and keep on my radar. If you can go out to WinSport and catch the games, that's even better. And I'm incredibly jealous. But yeah, no, Basha, just because of how much time he missed last season due to injury, and they were pretty significant injuries too. It was his back, which is never fun, but keep him on your radar. I think that he will likely see the jump to the AHL. depending on if the new AHL rule kicks in, because he is only 19. And obviously you have to be 20 years old to play in the NHL. But I'm on Elite Prospects right now, and they have him listed as a Wrangler. So we'll see. I don't know. I think that it's just going to be, he's a Calgary kid too. So you know that he's going to have some fans there. He's going to have his family. Having a solid winger on the team with playmaking and scoring ability, definitely a good bonus. I'm reading his scouting report. If he has a checking game to provide significant value as a bottom six energy forward too. I don't know how many more bottom six players the Flames necessarily need, but here's what I'm thinking. As players like Ryan Lomberg, Blake Coleman, Michael Backlund, Adam Klapka, but mainly those other three, age out and start retiring, we might be working with something here. But I do think that obviously Brew is a great player to watch. I've talked about Suniev all off season. Keep him on your radar, even if he doesn't go to a Wranglers game. I had so much fun at the Wranglers game. Unbelievable energy. Or you can watch him on TV. I think that he's great. I think that there's a chance that he is like the next guy up this season, potentially, hopefully. And I, again, just watch Sam Honzek. But don't put too much stock into any of these players. And coming up next, we're going to wrap up the show with some Rasmus Andersson speculation, because what good is Locked On Flames if we are not talking about Rasmus Andersson? The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using the FanDuel app because it is super easy to navigate, to use, cash out instantly. I like that I can assemble a same-game parlay in a matter of a minute and do whatever it takes, because it's quick and easy and the best way to add a little more energy to my Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Belmosto. So I was thinking earlier this morning at work, when I should have been working, as one does when they are on the clock, thinking about Rasmus Andersson. I was thinking about kind of how funny it would be if conversations, like if it took a face-to-face conversation to get this trade done at the 11th hour. But then I was like, would they really, would he come all this way and just not bite the bullet? Like if something was on the table. But anyways, I was thinking about it. What does a timeline look like? Because we know that anything can happen at any given moment. There is nothing preventing the Flames from trading him 12 seconds after I post this episode. I would prefer if they didn't, but what does the timeline look like? Because realistically, you have until the March trade deadline, and March is still quite some time away. So I was breaking it down by certain benchmarks, because by American Thanksgiving feels like the first benchmark of the season, and 85% of the teams in playoff position by that third week of or that fourth week of November make the playoffs. So maybe there are some teams calling around that time if the Flames are out of it, depending on how their season starts. And of course, how do the teams that want him look? What do they look like? I think it's realistic to say American Thanksgiving is probably when you're going to start hearing those rumors. And I was thinking about December too, because we saw the Zadorov trade happen. We saw, I believe, the Lindholm trade also happened in December. That might have been January. But there is still so much time between now and then. But I feel like, based off of how things have worked in the past, patterns, is how we can kind of establish things. And I'm really curious to see how this plays out at the end, because ultimately you don't want him to walk for nothing. So something has to get done. But it's a matter of finding somebody who will pay the price that you're asking for, somewhere that he will extend with, and making it as smooth as possible. I really hope they don't wait until the trade deadline. I think that at that point, it's kind of like you are at the true disadvantage, because you have to take whatever someone's giving you. And we know that these general managers are getting a little bit smarter. And I think I just want to see him moved at least a month before the trade deadline, at least, because then you have enough time on your hands to really justify getting what you want for the remainder of the season. Especially if you're getting a player with time left on his contract, or if you're getting an expiring contract in return. Like, it also depends on where the Flames are at. Standings wise, we're going to do a deeper dive into the schedule a little bit later, but I think just the month of October is going to be a lot for the Flames. And I hope you guys like back-to-backs, because the first 2 games of the season are back-to-back. So I'm curious. If I had to put money on it, I would say by December. I think that that's just how things are going to play out. And I think that gives him enough time to kind of put a little more, restock his value, if you will. And it gives teams time to evaluate where they're at. And if they are a playoff team, or if they think that adding a player like him will increase their chances or get them to where they need to be. And I think Andersson would be a great addition to any team. I really hope it comes down to the Stars. I would love to see that, because the Stars definitely have some things that the Flames should be interested in. But ultimately, we know that 3-time GM of the Year winner Jim Nill is not just going to give up his top prospects. So that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Make sure you are following me on Twitter at Belmosto, and you're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And we are here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you all tomorrow.